Yo, what's up everyone? Back again with another video. In this video, I'm going to be going over things you should look for when you're buying a square body. Now, this is probably one of the most important videos that I'm going to make, especially since I have a lot of people wanting to get one of these. And as you know, with these classic vehicles, specifically these, there's a lot to look for. So stay tuned, especially if you're considering buying one of these. And I hope you enjoy the video. It's going to be very informative. First and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and wash it up. As you can see, it is super muddy from one of my previous videos. So I'm gonna do it some justice by washing it off first and then going over what you should look for when you're buying. All right, as you can see, I got her a little cleaned up. She's definitely still dirty. I'm probably gonna have to go through like 3 washes just to get the mud up from under the fenders and chassis. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and jump straight into the video. 5 things that you should look for when you buy one of these trucks. Now there's probably more than 5, but I've got 5 main topics that I'm gonna break it down to. Number 1 being the most important, and that is rust. Now, rust on any vehicle is pretty much a ticking time bomb, but specifically when it comes to these classics, it's very, very common to find rust, especially if you live up north. I mean, you might as well kiss it goodbye and come down south to try to find one without rust. Now, I learned my lesson the hard way with the blue truck. I knowingly bought it with rust, and it is fixable, but it costs a lot of money, and no one wants to spend money when you're already throwing a bunch of parts at a truck like this. So that's got to be number 1. I'm going to go ahead and show you where the most common rust spots will be in these trucks. And like I said, if they're anywhere, you can fix them, but it just depends on how bad it is. If like the whole, you know what, I'll get into it. Let me show y'all where it's at. So like I said, rust on these trucks is a super common thing, so it might be hard to find one without rust. But I'm gonna show you where they're most common at, and that is going to be right here on this fender well. These spots right here rust up probably the most. I guess just the tires kick up dirt and mud, and it sits there for a while, it creates rust. And actually my blue one that I purchased had a big rust hole right here. I'll go ahead and throw a picture up right here. And as you can see, it looks pretty bad, but these are probably the easiest things to replace because you can actually purchase the entire panel right here and just weld it in. So you cut it out and weld that panel in and get that taken care of. But again, if you can avoid going through the headache, definitely do it. And same thing goes for the front. These will always be, there would normally always be rust right here, along as well as all along this fender, pretty much all the top. I've seen trucks where pretty much it's just a big hole all around the wheel well, and that is a whole different story on fixing. Another super common spot is going to be right here in the rocker panels, all in here and up here. I don't know why. Like I said, I think it's just spots where dirt and mud kind of stick there for a while, especially down here. As you can see, there's still dirt in there from me getting her dirty. But again, I mean, I've seen rust literally everywhere. I've seen rust all up here. That's another very common spot. I've seen rust pretty much all through this door panel right here. Those are very common. Now, of course, you must check underneath. That's another huge thing when coming to these. And just make sure, as you can see, my frame is pretty solid. I mean, it's obviously very dirty, but underneath is fairly clean. Normally, it'll just be all brown under here. Now, of course, the previous owner could have thrown some undercoating on this and to hide the rust, which is another thing you should look out for. But thankfully, I had pictures. I was provided pictures of what it looked like pretty much its entire life for this truck, and it was a Texas truck all its life, so rust wasn't necessarily a problem. Now, like I said, all of these problems are fixable, so I wouldn't let this completely destroy your mind on getting a square body, because the majority of them that you find are going to have problems, and that's okay. But rust is probably the biggest pain in the ass that you can come across. So it's more of a, do you want to go through the headache fixing it yourself or having to deal with it? That's what it really comes down to. Like I said, I had rust on my blue one. I fixed it. It looks great. Again, I'm not making this video to drive people away from buying these things. It's more of just a warning and giving you a heads up of what you're gonna have to deal with and what to look for, because a lot of people don't know. Now let's hop into number 2. Okay, so number 2 is going to be Bondo, aka body filler. Now the reason this is bad is, if you don't know what body filler is, say this truck has a big old dent in it or a cut or even a hole, people can fill it in with Bondo and make it look very nice, but underneath it is pretty much just a bunch of shit put together. Now the reason this is bad is because it creates rust. It'll also, if the paint job is not good, the paint will also bubble up, which looks horrendous, and then you're gonna have to get it repainted. You just don't want it. You want a straight metal. If you can come over here, that's straight metal. If you hear, I don't know if this truck has any Bondo, I'm not sure. Again, you can't really see it. It's obviously under the paint. Now there are ways to find Bondo. An easy way that I see a lot of people do is they'll get a magnet. Now if you stick a magnet to metal, obviously it's gonna stick to it. Now if you move it over a place where there's Bondo, which is pretty much, I mean, it's just body filler, it's not metal. That's the main point. Now if you stick it to somewhere where there's metal, obviously it's not going to stick, and that's an easy way to expose areas where there are Bondo. Like I said, this is another just another heads up. Check out for that, because down the road it could be a huge headache, especially if you plan on owning the truck for a while. Number 3 is also going to be part of the body, which is the obvious body damage. Now small dents and stuff you can definitely work out, but when it comes to bigger damage, you may be having to look at replacing a panel. It's weird, a lot of body shops, at least in my area, don't work on classic vehicles. I don't know why, but it's been something that's been a pain in the ass and has left me to do all the work myself. Now, although I like doing the work, it just is another pain in the ass that you have to worry about. And as you can see, mine does, let me show you some dents that mine actually does have. So as you can see, my truck is in pretty good shape, but as you get closer, you can see some small dents. There we go. See how the paint is not perfect. They're like all along this upper side right here. And although this is not the biggest deal in the world, if I wanted to get this fixed, it would definitely cost a lot of money, because I personally don't know how to do any body damage or any body repair. So I'd be having to take it to a shop, and 9 times out of 10, I'll be paying a lot more than I want to. So that's gonna be number 3, dents and body damage. Now the next thing is gonna be another obvious, and that's gonna be the engine. When you purchase any vehicle, really, be sure to test drive it, see how the engine feels, see how the throttle response is, and obviously visibly check it out and inspect it. If you see anything broken, it's better to be aware of stuff that you already know that you could fix before you purchase the vehicle, which again, just ask the customer. Again, you can't really trust their word, but you might as well just ask them if there's any known problems before you buy it. But at the same time, visibly inspecting engines, for example, this engine looks like crap, but it runs like a dream. And I've seen engines that look like a dream and run like crap. So the best way to do it is just to test drive it and see how it handles, really. Now the last thing is something I've seen a lot in square bodies, and that is people wiring up all sorts of extra shit and making it super complicated. The wiring harness, they'll have accessories that are wired, and wiring is one of the biggest headaches that I've had to deal with this truck specifically, because it's a TBI engine, so it's throttle body injected instead of carbureted. So there's a lot more wires. There's a whole ignition control module that is wired up, and you just don't want to get on the bad side of wiring. Now, a lot of things to check on the wiring is just under the hood. It should look fairly clean, especially for an old truck like this. Also, make sure all the electronics in the inside of the cab work. If they don't, it's not that big of a problem. It probably won't cost much either, but it's just a huge headache. Like I've spent hours trying to figure out why my left blinker light wouldn't work. You would think it'd be easy, but it's not. So that's the last thing I would check out. And other than that, I think that pretty much covers it. Just have common sense. You know, if you find square bodies, like I said, are getting harder to find day by day, but you can find quite a few in rough shape, but just make sure it's not in that rough shape where your investment won't pay off. Even if you're not like in the market to make money off of it, You definitely don't want to spend more money than you want to. No one does. All right, y'all, thanks for watching. I'm gonna go ahead and end the video there. Like I said, I hope this video was helpful, especially those people looking to buy square bodies. Like I said, you're most likely gonna find a problem with any vehicle that you own. It's just a matter of how big that problem is and what your plan is to address that and fix it. Now, I hope this video doesn't discourage anyone from buying a square body, like I've said, but it's just a way to give you a warning, because especially in this market today, a lot of people are wanting to take advantage of people who are uneducated about things to look out for, and I wouldn't want that to happen to anyone. So hope this video was helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Peace, y'all.